Hey guys, I'm Randy Unger, and this is another episode of Unger the Radar, where we talk all things film. And with me tonight is a fellow critic and friend to the show, Mr. Pete Ayala. How's it going, Pete? Welcome back.
It's going well. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. We're doing our regular episodes again. We're getting some new films actually, so that's really fun, and I'm happy about that.
Awesome.
So the first film that we're going to discuss, it's not a great film in my opinion, but it has been getting a lot of acclaim. It's won a couple of awards so far at Cannes Film Festival. It's called
Mhm.
Beanpole, and it basically focuses on two young women in post-World War II Leningrad. Basically, it's about them and their relationship. They bond and how they meet other people, including two men who are trying to court them. Um, I'm not going to give anything away to everyone who hasn't seen it, but basically there's some health issues that both women are confronted with, both mentally and physically. And, as if it's not bad enough to be in post World War II Leningrad, these two women have to deal with all this drama. The film has gotten a lot of acclaim, but I was honestly a little bored. I mean, the only redeemable qualities were, I'd say, the direction, which was really beautiful. It felt like very artfully done, and also the leading actresses, with two names I'm going to butcher right now. So we've Victoria Miroshnichenko and Vasilisa Peregrina. It's the best I could do. But
Sounds good to me.
yeah, right. So I think they did a great job, and I was sort of along for the ride with them, but at clocking in at almost 2.5 hours, the movie kind of lost me. If it was maybe like half an hour shorter, I think if it were tighter, it would have been a little more interesting and easier to digest. But just overall, I was not impressed by Beanpole. Pete, what did you think?
Well, yeah, just kind of piggyback off of what you said. It's a very heady situation that they're in, to say the least. Like you said, post World War II, and I don't think giving anything away for the movie if you haven't seen it. Knowing anything about the female role in war during wartime. Over there in the eastern part of Europe was a lot different than, say, here in the West and in England. Our women. So this was kind of a portion of it that gave me pause, and I kind of think that I kind of stopped to think about it a little bit, and I said, "Wow, it's crazy." Here we depended on women mostly for factory jobs, things like that back home, keeping everything going. That's what the United States was about in terms of, what is her name? Rosie the Riveter, that whole idea of women kind of helping to support the war, doing what they could. And then, of course, women in the war were mostly nurses and administrative roles and things like that. Whereas in these European countries, they were fighters. Because of lack of resources or lack of, losing soldiers all the time, right? So, that was kind of cool to see their take on it. And it was also really saddening to see that these women had fought for their country and yet were still dealing with the things they were dealing with, And again, like, not to give away too much, but the drama, as you said. So, again, it was a little slow moving. It was very artfully done. I like the use of color. I like the juxtaposition of the green for the more positive scenes, or at least those scenes that were like yearning to be positive. Whereas that red, and again, I won't say where the red comes from, but you'll see it as and I feel like that's, kind of obvious, the idea of the red and the green, and you'll feel it in the scenes when you kind of see it. But it never feels, even the positive never feels positive. You're always waiting for the other shoe to drop because it's overwhelmingly a horrible situation that they're in. And yes, I definitely agree that it could have been a half an hour shorter. Even with the fact that you are taking moments, like I try to put myself, like you said, with the direction, I try to put myself in the director's shoes and say, what was this choice that they were making here? Why are they waiting so long for this moment to land? And some of it was just, I think the director was trying to be respectful of the scene and respectful of the material, but sometimes it seemed like they were going for it too much, and it just made the movie too long. And I'm not afraid to say I fell asleep at one point, because it just got so calm,
right,
and so quiet, and so nothing was moving, and I was just, I just fell asleep. But overall, I think what they were trying to tackle was tough. I don't think that's easy for anybody to do, and I think they did an okay job. I definitely see where it gets all the acclaim, but just it's not going to get all that acclaim from me. I'm a forgiving person, so I'll talk about something very positively as much as I can.
right.
But at the same time, I would probably not recommend, unless you know exactly what you're getting into, and that's something that you're interested in, like seeing that point of view of women in Leningrad after World War II.
Yeah.
I don't know why else you'd watch it.
I think, there's been a lot of films that we've reviewed on the show that warrant repeat viewings, because maybe upon the first viewing, you maybe didn't catch something, or you didn't appreciate it as much. But upon the second or third, things might open up a bit in your mind, and like, this is actually really good. And I'm interested in seeing more of this director's work, because this was a very very skillfully done, very ambitious film, and I'm sure the director has had previous works that are amazing, or future works that'll be amazing. So I say it's on the radar, but not really high up. It's there, but it's a blip.
Yeah. The only other thing I would point out, just not to discount it too much, is the redhead girl, Masha, which I don't know which one of the actresses you said. I thought her facial expressions and the way she acted without speaking, like obviously the girl, Beanpole, who the movie's named after, her whole thing is supposed to be that she's supposed to be a little kind of blank with her looks and things in terms of what she's dealing with. Whereas Masha seems like she's way more outgoing. Right. And even in that outgoing behavior, she's still very demure, very reserved, and there's a lot going on under the surface. So I would love to see that particular actress and other things. I would love to see her kind of like stretch a little bit more and show me something a little different. But she was super believable in her role. She was definitely, she gave a gripping performance. It's just unfortunate that it was in this film.
Right. And like you said, they're basically yin and yang, they complement each other very, very well. And they were the best part of the movie, hands down.
Yeah, great point. No, great point. They definitely, yes, I like that. The yin and the yang, and they kind of, most definitely. 100% agree.
So that's Beanpole, and it's actually available now on home video through the Kino Lorber website, as well as through Kino Now, which is Kino Lorber's streaming service. And just a little plug for Kino Lorber. They're an amazing independent film and cult film and documentary film distribution company, and come up with some really great films. They've remastered some fantastic older films. One of which is called The Gray Fox, I believe it's called. And if you guys haven't seen it, it's from 1982. It's basically like sort of a Western. It's about a bank robber he's an older guy, he's like in his 60s, but he's spent like 30 plus years in prison. Then he's released into the year 1900, and he decides to get back into a life of crime in his 60s. So The Gray Fox, I believe that was the title, but phenomenal film. And that was re-released, remastered by Kino Lorber. So they're a great company. So, what I say see Beanpole, if you're curious, because it is a decent film. It's not stellar. And like we mentioned, it could have been a little shorter, could have, benefited from a few things, but I think it's worthwhile. Pete, what do you think?
I think, I agree. I think there's too many things good about it to discount it enough, but just know what you're getting into, take our word for it. It is slow moving, maybe don't let that be your expectation into the movie, but, try to look at it through the lens of, you know, especially if you're a historical fiction fan, try to look at it that way, and that might help you kind of get through it. But really pay attention to the women, because man, their acting was phenomenal. I just think with better material, you know, I think this could have been a really great film. And so I would say, yeah, definitely you can give it a watch. Just know what you're getting into.
And I like that you said see it from a different perspective. That's the educator in you, I think.
Yeah, you know, that's always going to be the way I lean to it. It's like, well, if you look at it like this, you know, it's like, but yeah,
Cool.
that makes me very forgiving.
Cool. Well, Beanpole, check it out now. And so now we're just going to take a short commercial break from our sponsor, but we'll be back right after this.
Under the Radar is brought to you by Magnitude Jewelry. Add a 2 to match your attitude. Patent pending interchange genuine gemstone and crystal EMF protection jewelry. For more information, please visit magnitudejewelry.com/gemgirl or call 718-268-6634.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. I'm Randy Unger. This is Under the Radar, and we're halfway through, and we are going to do our second film review today. It's called Mr. Soul, and this is a wonderful documentary about Ellis Hazlip, who produced and hosted a fantastic variety show from 1968 to 1973 called Soul. And basically, it featured the art and politics of some very strong figures in Black culture. And this series, I mean, I honestly have never heard of this until this documentary, but this show that Hazlip has championed it gives voice to the Black generation. Back in 1968, this is a very, very intense time for Black people, but Ellis Hazlip brought a voice to that generation, and you know, he not only stirred up conversations, but conversations that we really needed to make at that time, and also to highlight the brilliant art, you know, music and poetry of this era. So this is Mr. Soul, and it's actually written and directed by Melissa Hazlip, who is the niece of Ellis. And I was blown away. I learned a lot from this, and that's exactly what a good documentary should do. It should educate, it should entertain, and you know, especially now, this is a very relevant time, and it's a very very appropriate for the time. So, Mr. Soul, yeah, excellent film.
Yeah, can't say enough good things about it. I don't know. Was that my cue?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure, because there's not enough that you could say about it. Like, it was obviously, watching the two films we watched, it was definitely refreshing to see something like this, because again, the other thing being so somber, and even though both hit on a lot of controversial things, you know, some of the things that are carried out in it, this is real. This is history, and this is something that we can touch and feel still today. Like, one, it's very relevant, obviously, to us growing up in New York and knowing the importance of public television here growing up. I mean, as soon as they said Channel 13, I was like, we grew up on Channel 13. You know what I mean? Like, that was everything we knew. As little kids growing up, you know, Mr. Rogers and Sesame Street, and then just seeing things more like the arts, you know, seeing those performances at like Lincoln Center and Brooklyn Academy of Music and stuff like that. Like, this kind of brought back all of those memories for me when they started talking about what public television used to be and how important this was in New York. So for him to start this in New York at that time, during the civil rights movement, which, I mean, just right in the middle of it, right in the middle of Vietnam, right in the middle of the Black Panthers, right in the middle of the Nation of Islam. This is right after, these prominent leaders in the Black community were killed, not only just Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, but, even JFK and RFK, and talking about the importance of these people and leaving this community behind, like, searching for leaders. It was just amazing to see this. Now, I knew a little bit about Ellis only because my mom was a huge fan of the arts. So, like, we used to go see Alvin Ailey in New York City at Lincoln Center. We used to see those ballets and modern dance performances a lot. My mom was always a huge fan. So I was familiar with some of the work that he had done. Also doing, plays and spoken word things and stuff like that, like producing all of these things all over New York City. So some of the stuff I was familiar with, but I too was not familiar with the show at all. I was like, how do I not know this? This was like a staple on New York television, specifically New York television. Like, it was simulcast, I think they said, in Philly and Chicago. But for the most part, this was a New York-based show. And I was like, how have I never heard of this? And I even said, like, I asked my mom, and I said, Ma, you ever heard of Soul? And she was like, Soul Train? And I was like, no, not Soul Train. Like, completely different show, Yeah. And it was funny. They even talk about that difference between, like, American Bandstand and all these other shows where they would have these big acts show up and lip sync. Meanwhile, on Soul, they were coming on, and this might have been the first time that they performed ever. Like, watching a young Al Green at 25 years old, singing I'm So Tired of Being Alone for the very first time. I was like, that's amazing. Like, can you imagine being able to say I was sitting there when he did that the first time he was ever televised and you saw that? Or seeing people like the Last Poets, or, listening to Maya Angelou or Nikki Giovanni or, like, any of these other, like, strong Black leaders, and activists. And it was just, it was so cool. And then, of course, to see that whole Afro-Cuban thing come in, and then having, like, Tito Puente and guys like Joe Cuba and stuff like that. So the music that our parents grew up listening to, like that really funky music that they listened to, that was kind of like that mixture between the Latin and the African-American music at the time. I was blown away. I was blown away. I felt so ignorant when I was done. Like, I can't believe I didn't know anything about this.
I think that my favorite moment was young Stevie Wonder performing, everyone going nuts.
Oh yeah, yeah, and that was during that dance performance, like, having that interpretive dance while he was doing his song. Like, that's insane. Like, it's just, that was so beautiful to have those two things put together. And only somebody like Ellis would have come up with something like that, because that's what he was all about. He came from that background of off-Broadway shows and dance and stuff like that. So it's just cool to see him bring that together on a show that gave him the forum to do that. So
yeah, and it's going to live on in all of our memories and all the video footage too, thankfully, because it was painful. It was defunded. They didn't have enough money to continue it. So that was that. In 1973, it was done. Ellis left behind a great legacy with the show, and everyone who appeared. A lot of the performances were done by people who were just starting out, and they would just move on to become these huge names. So phenomenal. So this was actually this film won the Critics' Choice Documentary Award for Best First Feature for filmmaker Melissa Hazlip. It's Ellis's niece, and I think she preserved his memory perfectly in this. Like, what a niece, what a family member to do such a thing.
And she prominently placed her dad in there because, being his close sibling, having all that good background information about him, and that was, it was nice that they had that. And then, of course, the heartbreak of losing his sister in the way that he did. Like, I just thought that was really cool to make your family experience so vulnerable like that in a documentary that was supposed to be mostly about this pivotal show, but then to talk about his background, being a gay Black man at that time in America, and, trying to carve out this section for his people, trying to be this beacon, or trying to be, like this trailblazer, and already being in a minority of a minority, I can't imagine was easy. So
Yeah.
it was, it was amazing to hear about it. And, obviously tragic that he died pretty young in his 60s. So,
Yeah, 61.
but yeah, 61, but it was fantastic. I mean, talk about a life well lived, doing something like that for 6 years, exactly what you wanted to do, and leaving that impression behind. And, then even seeing more contemporary people like Questlove talking about it at the end,
Yeah.
and how pivotal it was for people like, that younger people closer in age to me was nice to see. So
Yeah, it's also like a really nice. It's like a time capsule in a way. It
yeah.
transports audiences to a different time, a time when there was actually decent music out there, some original music. I'm not going to point fingers or names, no, but back then I think that was like I wasn't alive back then, but some really amazing music was coming out of the 70s, late 60s, 70s. So this film perfectly captures that spirit of that era. And I'm really glad that they released this.
Yeah, me too.
And for everyone curious, Mr. Soul is now streaming in over 25 virtual cinemas. So check that out. All right.
Cool.
So we are going to move on. We've got something of a plug from Paramount Pictures. December's coming up, and they are celebrating some anniversaries this month. I'm just going to go down the list. Pete, if you've seen some, chime in. It's fine. But I honestly have not seen a few of these as well. So we're going to support each other right now. All right. So first off, True Grit, the remake, is celebrating its 10th anniversary. Directed by the Coen brothers, and stars Jeff Bridges, Matt Damon, Haley Steinfeld, and Josh Brolin. That's a great cast.
Hell of a cast.
Yeah. I didn't see the original, but this was a fine film.
Same here. I was going to say, I really need to, I've said it for a while now since I saw that one, and had to argue with my grandfather, who says there's no good Westerns after like John Wayne. And I think way back when we got him to agree on Tombstone, that Tombstone was good. He didn't like Wyatt Earp. He didn't like the other take. He didn't like Kevin Costner's take.
Okay.
But he did like who's
Kurt
that?
The Kurt Russell?
Kurt Russell, yeah. He liked Kurt Russell's take, but I think again that had a lot to do with Val Kilmer and his, Doc Holliday. But anyway, regardless, he had said that that was it. After that, like he only liked that was Tombstone, and then we talked him into watching this, and he loved the original. Huge John Wayne fan, huge old Western fan, and he said they did him proud. So I was like, yeah, I really got to get around to seeing that old one. But the new one was fantastic. Yeah.
Same here. And also, you should turn him on to The Quick and the Dead with Sharon Stone, Gene Hackman. Did you see that one?
Yeah, I saw that one. I saw it way after it came out.
Directed by Sam Raimi, so it had like a really key style about it. It's a very underrated film, an Unger-rated film, I'd say. But
very good, very good. But,
I would show him that. That's a fun one.
All right, The Quick and the Dead. Yeah, that's Leo DiCaprio's in that too, isn't he?
And Russell Crowe.
Young Leo. And Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
Man, all right. Yeah. Maybe I need to stop sleeping on that movie, because Gene Hackman in it he's phenomenal in it. He's a stone cold killer. Anyway.
He's still working. I love Gene Hackman. He's one of my favorite actors.
Yeah. Same.
All right. So next up on the list of Paramount Pictures films, we've got The Fighter, also celebrating its 10th anniversary. And that stars Mark Wahlberg and Christian Bale, who actually he won the Academy Award that year for Best Supporting Actor.
Well deserved. He
like transformed his body for that one, I think. Like he got really skinny
he did.
But that wasn't.
And then he had to get really heavy for the other one. What was the other one that he did with Amy Adams? And he has a really bad comb over.
Oh, same director actually, David O. Russell.
Yes.
Damn it! Was it American Hustle?
American Hustle, and he did so not so close together, but even within a 5-year period, which I think it was less than that. But to do a transformation of your body in that close a time, like that's going back to like The Machinist. It's like it's insane. And then like again like being Batman for a couple of years as well, or that decade of time having to be kind of ripped, and that's not really his build. He's more of an actor. He's not like I need to get jacked and be big for stuff. It's more of he's a true actor. He's not
I
an
mean,
action hero.
if they throw enough money at you, you're gonna do some crazy
Yeah,
things to your body. So
it's true.
I
It's
don't
true.
blame
But I also, yeah, I don't either. But I also think it has a lot to do with him like believing in whatever it is that he's doing, and he knocks it out the park. As what is his name? Now I can't remember his name, but he's, I remember talking about it with my dad because he remembers watching that fight, him fighting Sugar Ray Leonard and not getting knocked out, like he never went down, and that was like his big Mickey something or other. I can't remember his name, but regardless, he was amazing. He was more believable as a Boston dude than
a Welsh
Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
Yeah. Being a Welsh guy with the kind of accent when you hear him normally talk, for him to pull that off, he was just you lost him in the film. And then when you see him, go to the prison and they're showing, he's in prison and they're showing he keeps calling it his comeback, and really it's a documentary about how this guy can't get off drugs and he can't get his life together and stuff, and like him coming to that realization. Was heartbreaking. He makes you believe it.
It's a great movie. I haven't seen it since it first came out 10 years ago, so I think I may have to revisit this.
Yeah. Now that you said it out loud, like I own it on Blu-ray. I don't buy a lot of Blu-rays anymore. Probably in the last 15 years, I maybe bought 20 Blu-rays, and that's one of them because that's such an amazing movie.
I'm really all about the digital these days, but
yeah. Oh, and Amy Adams in that, by the way. I forgot. She's also in it.
Melissa Leo, it's phenomenal cast.
Oh yeah, no, great cast.
All right, so moving along, we've got Dracula 2000, which I did not see. It was actually presented, I think that means it was produced by Wes Craven. It starred actually a young Gerard Butler and Christopher Plummer. I didn't see that one, but it's celebrating its 20th anniversary. So
yeah, it was.
I don't know why
it was totally missable.
Oh God, really? Yeah. Well, the title alone is a turnoff,
Yeah, Dracula 2000. There was another Dracula movie came out, just after that, but that Dracula 2000 was actually a fun tidbit about it. It was actually supposed to be like this. I guess it was supposed to go through Universal first, or maybe it was a Universal Paramount thing or something like that. And they were looking at using that as the beginning of that Universal Monster universe again.
Okay, yeah.
And then that didn't work. So then they did that other Dracula movie. Well, then they did Wolfman. They did Wolfman with Benicio del Toro, which I think is amazing. I think it's highly underrated. Oh, I think it's highly underrated.
I think
he's a lot of people say that, but I think if you just watch him, I think his acting, I think he's fantastic in it. I think the rest of the movie is shit. I think it's bad writing all the way, but I think he just kills it for me. I love Benicio del Toro. I'll watch anything he's in. I think he throws himself in everything he does. So, and then they came out with another Dracula movie, and then that god awful Tom Cruise Mummy movie, and then it killed the whole universe, which was sad. Yeah. Because Universal, they've shown they could make a franchise. They could definitely build the world with that stupid, Fast and Furious garbage that has 1 million movies now, but they can't.
They wanted to pretty much start it with 1999's The Mummy with Brendan Fraser, and then Dracula 2000 obviously comes out the following year, and then Wolfman came out like in 07, 08.
Yeah, it was a while because they were trying to go back to the old style. They said, well, let's get away from this more contemporary look. Let's go back to kind of more of a gothic look, and then that didn't work, so they jumped that. Yeah.
Hopefully in the future they'll get their stuff together and we'll get a decent franchise going, So
yeah, because all I wanted to see was Creature of the Black Lagoon, and they robbed me of it. So
we sort of got the Lady in the Water, not the lady.
They nailed the
Shape of Water, I think. Yeah,
The Shape of Water. I knew what you meant. Yeah, Lady in the Water is that. Yeah, but anyway, yeah. But no, I agree. If they got. Isn't that? No, that's not. Who is that? That's the Spanish dude.
I think it was Guillermo del Toro.
Guillermo del Toro, yeah.
I might be mixing up my Hispanic filmmakers because.
Yeah, I can't remember. Or was it the guy that did Pan's Labyrinth? I can't remember. It's one of
Guillermo, I think.
Was it? Then it's the same guy. Yeah. Then it's definitely him.
The actor who does like those. He dresses up as a lot of his creatures, like in Hellboy. And
Jones. I can't think of his first name. Something Jones.
So good. He's so great.
Tall, skinny dude. Yeah,
Yeah.
he pulls off everything he does.
Definitely. All right. So, next up, this is a movie that I actually really enjoyed when it first came out 20 years ago. What Women Want, starring Mel Gibson, Helen Hunt.
Do I love What Women Want?
Isn't it
Love
fun?
that
It's
movie.
funny. It's really good.
It's underrated. I feel like it's really underrated. Mel Gibson, of all the movies where he gives like a good, like he's great. He's great in everything he's in, but his performance in that, his like trying to get people out of his head and the whole, I thought he pulled it off really well. Like he doesn't come off as a slapsticky guy.
Yeah.
You know, like you either think about him in really serious things like Braveheart, and,
Lethal Weapon.
yeah, or you think of him like Lethal Weapon and stuff. You don't think of him in that. And
Right.
when he did that movie, I was like, dude, Mel Gibson could do anything. Like, I feel like he could just, if he can nail funny like that, and I thought he did funny really well, then, you know, what can't the guy do? I mean, barring his personal life and some horrible decisions he's made, he's, you know, you still got to give it up to the guy. He's a great actor.
Yeah. And that was a pretty good year for him. He also did The Patriot that year. And
That was the other one I was trying to think of was The Patriot, Braveheart and The Patriot.
He was on a roll then. But then, you know, his alcoholism, you know, got the better of him. But you know what? He actually did come out with a movie that we actually reviewed last week on our show called Fat Man. Where he plays Santa Claus. But like a kind of like this gritty alcoholic Santa Claus. So yeah, I would recommend that if you like Gibson, and you forgive him for his transgressions.
Right. Yeah. Because that's what we do, right? We forgive.
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes a little too much, but yeah, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
You know, after seeing who was it? Robert Downey Jr. come out and like come to his defense. What was that, like 10 years ago at the Oscars or whatever, where he said, you know, like the guy suffered enough, or I can't remember. Maybe it was Screen Actors Guild Awards or something. But RDJ came out and he said, you know, from one guy who had to be, you know, saved and brought back into things after making horrible decision after horrible decision to another, we feel like this man is apologized enough and whatever. And I said, well, I love RDJ, so it's hard for me to argue with him. If he's going to give him another chance, I guess, at least from an acting standpoint, I could give him another chance.
And, you know, I sometimes try to separate the personal life from the artist's life. And Mel Gibson actually directed a really great movie that came out in 2016 called Hacksaw Ridge. And
oh, yeah, dude.
How good was that movie? That was so good.
My God.
Yeah.
And so many good movies were coming out at the time. And I mean, obviously he nails the World War II. You could tell he has a strong affinity for that. You know, that whole Band of Brothers, you know, what's the other one? Tom Hanks and Saving Private Ryan. Like anything like that, that's right up Mel Gibson's alley, or at least it appears to be. That appears to be something that he really likes to go back to. So I mean, hey, do what you know. You know what I mean? If you know war movies, do war movies, and man, did he do it. So yeah.
So that was
just another great film.
That was a great year too, 2016. Really.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. So that's What Women Want, celebrating its 20th anniversary. So check that one out. Celebrating its 30th anniversary is a John Cusack movie called The Grifters, which I didn't see. I think this is like a crime comedy thriller, but it's got Annette Bening in it. Angelica Houston's also in it. And it was actually produced by Martin Scorsese. So can't really go wrong. Yeah.
No, I feel like that's enough big names in there that it would be worth a look.
Nice.
For sure.
Cool. Next up, we've got the 40th anniversary of Popeye, starring Robin Williams in his first starring role.
Oh,
I've never seen it. I'm ashamed to say I've never seen.
You're missing out. You know why? Because it's that little bit of an age difference, right? Like if you were my age right now, then you would have seen that movie so many times on Channel 5 when you were a kid. Like that was a Channel 5 Sunday movie all day. You know, like it was like kung fu movies and Popeye. Like you couldn't go wrong. And to make it a musical, like it was so bad and so good at the same time. But I mean, it wasn't bad because the people in it didn't care. You know, like Shelley Duvall's in it. She plays Olive Oil and she does a really good job. She really does. Like she you know, you could tell she's like, what? You want me to play
she looks like her. It's like scary.
Yeah, yeah, no, she was spot on, perfect with the boots and the everything. She was perfect. And then Robin Williams, obviously, this was for me, seriously for me, when I think back on it, that was like the beginning of his genius for me. Like
Okay.
that was when he went from Mork and Mindy to holy crap, this guy could do anything. Like he was like, yeah, I'll do Popeye. No, I want to do serious roles. I want somebody to offer me Good Morning Vietnam. I want to do Awakenings. I want to do all these great movies coming down the line, right? So I'm going to do Popeye, and I'm going to knock it out of the park, even though I know it's a bad script and it's a bad production and it's a bad time in filmmaking. Like 1980 is not a year that is known for like great movies. Like a lot of garbage came out around that time. Like small budget movies.
Ordinary
a lot
People,
of
that won Best Picture that year. That was actually really good.
right, but again, we're not talking like the whole
Pickens.
spectrum. It's exactly like it's something out of nothing, right? At the time, like everybody wants Star Wars, like that's what it's all about. So we're coming out with the Dunn or Superman movies. We're coming out with all these big time things, and then they're like, we're going to option a cartoon from the 30s. And they're like, what? Yeah, but not only are we going to option this cartoon, we're going to make it a musical, because that makes absolutely no sense. It makes less sense than making this movie as is. We're going to turn it into a musical because we have to have something take away from what a bad idea this was. So we're going to throw a bunch of music into it. And he still kills it. He's like, I don't care. I'm going to make this work, and I'm going to be great. And he was. And what's his name from Superman's in it? He plays Wimpy. I forget his name.
Oh, wait. Not Ned Beatty. Ned Beatty?
Yeah, Ned Beatty's in it. I think so. I think that's him. I think he plays Wimpy. I'm pretty sure. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
You know what? I've got to check this one out. I'm ashamed to say I've never seen this. So yeah, I'm gonna check it out for sure.
Yeah, you gotta sit through it, man. You gotta.
Right.
And just go and like watch a bunch of Popeye cartoons first.
Yeah.
Go on YouTube, watch a bunch of them, old ones, newer ones, watch them all. Get at least 10 under your belt and then go watch it.
Yeah.
And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised, but you're going to see whatever people saw in Robin Williams. I don't want to say like this was the pivotal point in his career, but I'm saying like people saw his genius in this movie. They were like, wow, I think he could do great things. And then he did. So.
I wonder who else was considered for the role. Like, because Robin's pretty perfect, I think.
Right? Like he's shorter. He's already kind of a stocky dude. Mm-hmm. And the prosthesis on his arms to give him the big forearm. Oh, it's so bad. It's so bad, but it's so good.
And also, it's directed by Oscar-winning director Robert Altman. So
yeah,
that's kind of
there's a lot of names. There's a lot of names attached to this movie that probably wish they weren't.
Right.
But I will have so much affection for that movie. Barring that it's Robin Williams, and I love Robin Williams, still, I just have a lot of affection for that movie, because when I think back to that, I think of movies around that time, like Annie, or anything else that they made at the time that they were trying to give it that Broadway feel.
Yeah.
But they were doing it on a late 70s, early 80s budget. So, it didn't always come off great. Yeah, if you were trying to do something old like Annie, it worked. And by trying to do Popeye and be on the water and doing all these, like different things, I think it just got a little too jumbled up, but solid effort.
Speaking of 80s musicals that are based on a childhood, story, I believe they were going to do Hook in the mid 80s with Michael Jackson, and it was supposed to be a musical, I believe. But
I'm so glad. Whoever passed on that, I'm glad they did.
But then
because Hook was so great with him.
1991. That was for me. That was probably the first time I ever saw Robin Williams. I was like 6 years old, 5, 6. But I love Hook. It's an amazing movie. And,
Well, I'm glad you got introduced to him with Hook and not Toys. Anyway, go on.
I like Toys. I think that's a decent underrated movie.
But what I'm saying is I'm glad that wasn't your first dive into him. If your first dive into Robin Williams was like Jumanji or something like that, like, Hook, like, you're good.
Yeah.
But if it was toys, then you might have been soured on him quick because that wasn't the greatest of movies.
Well, I'm pretty sure I did see it around the time it came out, but it didn't really faze me. I know how weird it is, but that's a beautiful film. Visually striking, really
Oh,
amazing.
visually, yeah, without a doubt.
Nice. All right, so we've got 3 more films. So these are older. We've got Love Story, celebrating its 50th anniversary. Artists and Models, starring Jerry Lewis, celebrating its 65th. And lastly, back to John Wayne. We've got Dakota, celebrating its 75th anniversary.
There you go.
Very mixed bag that Paramount Pictures is dealing with this month. So,
but that's cool. It's bringing up that nostalgia. It's the member berries, right? Remember when we used to watch this and yada yada yada. Like, yeah, bringing back just Popeye was enough for me.
I remember watching Tales from the Crypt with you in your basement.
Yes. No, I was a huge Tales from the Crypt. I bought the horrible movies. What was it? The Bordello of Blood, and then what was the other one? Demon Knight. Oh, poor Billy Zane. And actually, he's good in it. He's really good in it. Yeah, but I'm sure he was like, I'm going to be a big movie star. But first, I'm going to make this god awful Tales from the Crypt movie, which I thought was the greatest thing when it came out, and now it is unwatchable to me. Can't watch it.
He did that, I think, the same year or 1 year before The Phantom, and then 2 years later he'd be in Titanic. So that's a very career.
Talk about redemption, right? Like, listen, we know you pushed to do The Phantom. We know you fought the studio to get that part. And we know you thought it was going to be great and it was garbage, but we're still going to let you into Titanic. Like, I don't even know what they were thinking. You make Flash Gordon in like what, 79 or 80, and then you don't make the Phantom until so far later. Like, that's that same property. And I don't even know who owns all of that, but it's like, it's the other, it's kind of like a knockoff Avengers, right? It's the Phantom and it's Flash Gordon. It's a couple, there was even like a cartoon and comic books for it when I was a kid. And I always liked the cartoon. I always thought the Phantom was a cool,
right?
Huh?
Phantom 2000, was that the name?
Was that the name of it?
Of the cartoon?
It might have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might have been.
Nice.
But that was all in the same universe, and I loved those when I was a kid. And then when I heard the movie was coming out, I got super excited, and then I saw it and I wasn't.
Another one in that same vein would be The Shadow with Alec Baldwin.
You know what the best part about The Shadow is years later, he talks about it in 30 Rock. He's making this he's trying to get it. There's an episode real quick. I got it. This is so good. on the show, Tracy Morgan plays pretty much himself, but his name is Tracy Jordan on the show. And he's this, he's on this SNL type show with the blonde whose name is escaping me, and Tina Fey plays the head writer.
Yeah, I don't
Jenna
know.
Maroney's her name on the show. I can't think of her name in real life, and I love her. She's hilarious. She was on Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. She's great.
Krasowski or something?
Jane Krakowski. There you go. Jane Krakowski. Right. Or is it Krasowski? No, that's John No, that's Krasinski. Yeah, it's Krakowski. It's definitely Krakowski. And when you're gonna fact check me after, and I'm so wrong.
It's fine.
But yeah, there's a scene where they're trying to get him back on TV, and he says, "I can't." He had won an Oscar, right, for some movie that he made, and he was like, "I just want to go back to my boring old TV show, job. I don't want to have all these expectations of me." And Alec Baldwin's like, "If you want to go back to your easy TV job, go back to your easy TV job, and you'll lose all your credibility as a real actor." And then he talks about his own life, but he uses that as an example that has nothing to do with anything. He's like, you could even have the kind of career where you walk away from multi-million-dollar franchises, Batman, to go do a horrible movie, The Shadow, and then do like Glengarry Glen Ross and kill it in the movie and then kill it on Broadway, and then still get, what does he say? And still get laughed out of the Golden Globe after party by Greg Kinnear. So it's like this great, juxtaposition, talking about his own career and talking about how he's kind of killed it by going on 30 Rock and being a TV star after he did all these huge movies. So but it's great because he touches on that whole Shadow thing where he dumped Batman to go do the Shadow, thinking that the Shadow was going to be so much better because it was going to be this gritty noir, you know, kind of a LA Confidential. Like he thought it was going to be so much better than it was, you know, this old Hollywood cool thing.
Right.
And it came off like Dick Tracy, except Dick Tracy had personality, and I enjoyed that movie.
Yeah, and
whereas the Shadow came.
Film, by the way.
Oh, it's a great film. But I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Go ahead, say it again.
No, just side note how great Dick Tracy is. But back to the Shadow.
Oh no, the colors and what you were saying, the direction, the colors, everything was just, yeah, Dick Tracy knocked it out of the park. Whereas the Shadow just, it's almost like, I think it was like that. What is that Robert Rodriguez movie that he did in black and white? It was really good.
The Spirit? No,
that was the one I was going to talk about next. But the first one that he did with Bruce Willis and Sin City. Yeah, Mickey Rourke, all of them. Sin City.
Great, yeah.
Oh, amazing. And then they tried to do The Spirit in the same spirit as that first movie, and it just came off so terrible.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was kind of what happened with The Shadow. They were trying to pick up where other things had left off. Like they were trying to steal ideas from other things, and it just came off as a messy clump of garbage. Yeah, it was unfortunate because he's so good.
Yeah. I mean,
and the ultimate slap in the face has to be his wife is in Batman with Michael Keaton, and he's over here doing the Shadow. So bad.
You know, Bill Murray and Mel Gibson were also considered for the role of Batman back in the day. I think Kevin Costner too. But I'm glad
Mel Gibson, okay.
Yeah.
Kevin Costner, I could see that because he was kind of box office gold back then.
Yeah.
But Bill Murray?
I don't know. I mean, he would have killed it as Bruce Wayne, but
I think he would have been such a dick. Like, like he would have been. No, I mean that's what Bruce Wayne is supposed to be. He's supposed to be that outwardly. He's supposed to be this guy, this facade. You know, like he's this billionaire playboy jerk. But really, that's not who he is. Obviously, he has to put on that facade so nobody knows he's Batman. So, yeah, I think Bill Murray could have knocked that out of the park. But, you know, I'm Batman. I don't think Bill Murray could have pulled that part off.
I don't know.
I mean, I'm here to bust ghosts. I mean,
you do a Bill Murray impression, unfortunately. But
no, it just, I don't think it would have worked. But, yeah. I love, no. I mean, Bill Murray is Batman overall. But, no, I think it's really cool that now DC is going to bring back Michael Keaton as an older Batman. He's going to be in that new Flashpoint movie. I cannot wait.
But, you know, my head's kind of exploding because I need to catch up on, like, the animated films, the live-action TV series. I mean, I'm pretty up to date with Gotham, but other than that, I have a lot of homework ahead of me.
Yeah, I just got HBO Max, so now I'm going to watch the Titans show that's on there because I always loved those comics. I was a huge Teen Titans comic fan. Like I loved, you know, just all of those comics that time that they came out where they were trying to make everything. They made the Young Avengers on Marvel's side, and then they made the Teen Titans on DC, and I was all in the mid 80s.
Yeah,
I was all into that. So
they in the 80s and mid 90s, they did this thing where they made their main animated stars younger, like Scooby-Doo, young James Bond Jr. You know, they're just like
James Bond Jr. Wow, I haven't thought of that I'm saying I haven't thought of that in forever. The name is Bond. James Bond Jr. Oh, it's so weird.
It was.
Oh, it's so good. And he wasn't even his son. He was his nephew. Why was he named the same name and he was junior, but he was his nephew? It was that weird trope where nobody could ever be somebody's son. They always had to be their nephew or their grandson. It was always something weird like that. But yeah, no, that was truly the case. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do with that. You know, don't even get me down that road because we'll just go hard into DC and that'll just be the rest of it.
That's next time. We'll save that.
Yeah. I'm ready. Whenever you're ready for that conversation, I will take you down far as you want to go. We'll be here for hours.
Let's do it. It's a challenge.
All right.
So we're about out of time, but Pete, do you have any plugs? Anything you want to mention?
No, nothing that I want to mention. Obviously, I'm not trying to be political or anything, but I'm just gonna ask everybody for the sake of everyone, just be safe, wear your mask, do what you got to do, follow directions. Please. We want to get out of this. We do love sitting around and watching movies and talking about them, and obviously, this gives us the excuse to do that a lot more. But it would be nice to go back to normal life. So please, just do what you have to do. That's all I ask.
Yes. And everyone, be safe. Happy Thanksgiving. It's in a few days. So Pete, you and your family, my family actually, we have the same family.
Correct.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes. Happy Thanksgiving to you, brother.
Thank you, sir. All right. And also from our wonderful sponsor, Magnitude Jewelry, they've got a new kids line. So check that out. Just Google Magnitude, Magnetude. And they've got some wonderful new products. So let's check those out. But I want to thank everyone watching at home and on your devices. Pete, thank you so much, sir. And
thank you for having me as always.
Anytime. I'm Randy Unger. This has been Unger the Radar. We'll see you next time. Take care. Happy Thanksgiving.